Good morning to all. So in this class we will be revising the module second, the second part of this module second, which is the introduction to hardware. So in the last class we discussed regarding the hardware introduction, then the symbol model of this computer or the block diagram of the computer. Then we discussed regarding the input devices, the different types of these input devices. So in this class we have to focus on the output devices, then the different types of these output devices. Then we have the USB flash drive, modems, and also the central processing unit. So these are the topics that we have to focus on in this class. So first we have the output devices. An output device is any piece of computer hardware equipment used to communicate the results of data processing carried out by a computer to the outside world. So the commonly used kind of these output devices includes the monitor and speakers. So now we have to focus on these two devices, which is the visual display unit, which is the monitor. Then we have the speaker. So basically we have two different types of these monitors, which includes the cathode ray tube and also the liquid crystal display. And we have the latest addition to these monitors, which is the LED. So these are the different types of monitors that we have to focus on. And also we have the comparison between the CRT and LCD monitors. So first we have to focus on the computer monitor, which is the visual display unit or the VDU. So regarding the visual display unit, which is the VDU, a monitor or display, sometimes called as this visual display unit, is a piece of electrical equipment which displays the images generated by devices such as computers. The main difference between a monitor and a television is that a monitor does not have a television tuner to change the channels, and also a monitor may be used to watch television if it is connected to a device that has a television tuner. And some models of these monitors can be used as a television, and some television are used with these computers also. So basically a monitor has a better display resolution than a television to make it easier to see smaller letters and graphics on. Then we have the two different types of these monitors are available. The first one is the CRT monitor, then the LCD monitor. So the CRT monitor means the cathode ray tube technology, and which is a big and heavy, and it is the oldest technology used by the monitors. It looks like a television but has a bigger display resolution and often a higher frequency. CRT stands for the cathode ray tube. So regarding the CRT, which is the cathode ray tube, it is a vacuum tube containing an electron gun, which is a source of electron, and a fluorescent screen with internal or external means to accelerate and deflect the electron beam, which is used to create the images in the form of light emitted from the fluorescent screen. So this is the basis of this cathode ray tube. Now we have the LCD monitor, in which is the thin, flat and lightweight, is a newer technology than the CRTs, and the quality can be same or even better than a CRT. But this type of monitor usually costs more than the CRT monitors. So regarding the LCD monitor, a liquid crystal display is an electronically modulated optical device shaped into a thin flat panel made up of any number of color or monochrome pixels filled with liquid crystals and arrayed in front of a light source, which means the backlight or the reflector. So the LCD display is one of the most commonly used kind of these monitors. So we have the LED monitors, which is the latest addition in this segment. And now we have to focus on the topic, the performance measurements of the monitors. So the first one is the luminance. So luminance is the photometric measure of the luminance intensity per unit area of light traveling in a given direction. And the second point is that the viewable image size. So the viewable image size is measured diagonally, and also the viewable image size or the VIS is the actual amount of screen space that is available to display a picture without the obstruction from the case or other aspects of the unit's design. Then regarding the aspect ratio. So aspect ratio is the ratio of the horizontal length to the vertical length. Then we have the display resolution. So this is one of the important aspects regarding the performance measurements, in which the display resolution is the number of distinct pixels in each dimension that can be displayed, and maximum resolution is limited by dot pitch. Then we have the dot pitch. So the dot pitch means, sometimes called as the line pitch or the stripe pitch or the pixel pitch, is the distance between dots or the subpixels of the same color in millimeters. And in general, the smaller the dot of pitch, the sharper the picture will appear. Then we have the refresh rate. So regarding the refresh rate, which is most commonly known by the name the vertical refresh rate, it is the number of times in a second that display hardware draws the data. Then we have the response time, and the response time is the time a pixel in a monitor takes to go from active, which means the black, to inactive, which is the white, and back to active, which is the black again, measured in the milliseconds. Then we have the contrast ratio. So the contrast ratio is the ratio of the luminosity of the brightest color, which is the white, to that of the darkest color, which is the black, that the monitor is capable of producing. So that's regarding the contrast ratio. Then we have the power consumption. So the power consumption is the consumption of energy or power measured in watts. Then we have the viewing angle. So the viewing angle is the maximum angle at which the images on the monitor can be viewed without excessive degradation of the image, and it is measured in degrees horizontally and vertically. So that's regarding the viewing angle. So these are the major performance measurements of the monitor. Now we have the comparison of the CRT and LCD monitors. So we have some pros and cons of this CRT and LCD monitors. So regarding the CRT, the high dynamic range then can display natively in almost any resolution and refresh rate, and also no input lag, then the sub millisecond response times, near zero color saturation, etc. So regarding the LCD, we have some pros, in which the first one is very compact and light, then second one is that low power consumption, then no geometric distortion, then little or no flicker depending upon the backlight technology. Then we have some cons of this CRT as well as the LCD monitor. So the first one is regarding the CRT monitor, in which large size and weight, then high power consumption, then the geometric distortion in non-flat CRTs, then older CRTs are prone to screen burn-in, and finally it produces the noticeable flicker at low refresh rates. Then regarding the cons of this LCD monitor, the limited viewing angle, then the bleeding and uneven backlighting in some monitors, then slow response time, then we have only one native resolution, then we have the input lag, and also the dead pixels are possible during the manufacturing. So these are some important aspects regarding the differences between the CRT and the LCD monitors. So with that, we completed the monitor, which is the first segment in the output units. Then we have the second topic, which is the computer speaker. And regarding the computer speakers or multimedia speakers, they are the speakers external to a computer that disable the lower fidelity built-in speaker. They often have a lower power internal amplifier. Then we have to focus on the printers, which is the third category under the output devices. So the printers are commonly used the output devices which produce hard copy, which means the permanent human readable text or the graphics of documents stored in electronic form, usually on physical print media such as a paper or the transparencies. So we have the impact printers, in which the divisions under the impact printer is that the first one is the dot matrix printer, then the daisy wheel printer, and then the line printers. Then under the modern printers, we have the toner based printer, in which the toner based printers work using the serographic principle that is used in most of these photocopiers. Then we have the laser printers, and then the liquid inkjet printers, and then also the solid ink printers, the dye sublimation printers, and finally we have the inkless printers, which is also known by the name the thermal and the UV printers. So these are the different types of printers that are available today. So we had to focus on these different types of printers, especially the modern printers and as well as the impact printers. Then we have the most important topic, the fifth topic of this module, which is the USB flash drive. So a USB flash drive, which is also known by the name the thumb drive or the pen drive, it consists of flash memory data storage device integrated with a USB universal serial bus 1.1 or 2.0 interface, and now we have the USB 3.0 also available. And the USB flash drives are typically removable and rewritable, much smaller than a floppy disk, and most weight than less than the 30 gram. So these are the important aspects regarding the USB flash drive. Then we have the technology used in the flash drive, in which the electrically erasable programmable read-only memory, which is the EEPROM, which is used in the technology behind the flash drives. Then we have the components of the USB flash drive. Then also the which includes the major parts, which includes the male type a USB connector, then the USB mass storage controller, then the NAND flash memory chip, then the crystal oscillator. So these are the major essential components of the flash drive. Then we have some uses of these USB flash drives. The first one is the personal data transport. Second one is the system administration. Then we have the application carriers, then the booting operating systems, and then the audio players, music and storage and marketing, then brand and product promotion, and also the backup. So now we have to focus on the advantages and disadvantages of the USB flash drive. So we have to focus on the advantages and disadvantages of this USB flash drive, in which we have some important points regarding the advantages, in which the flash drives also store the data densely compared to many removable media. Then compared to the hard drives, the flash drives use a little power, have no fragile moving part, and for low capacities are small and light. And also flash drives implement the USB mass storage device class, in which the most modern operating system can read and write to them. Then some flash drive retain their memory even after being submerged in water. So this also another advantage of this USB flash drive. And also we have some disadvantages of this USB flash drive, in which the flash drives can sustain only a limited number of write and erase cycle before failure. Then most USB drives do not include a write protect mechanism. Then also a drawback to the small size is that it should be easily misplaced. Then compared to the other portable storage devices such as the external hard drives, the USB flash drives still have a high price per unit of storage and were until recently only available in comparatively small capacities. So these are some disadvantages of this USB flash drive. So that's regarding the topic the USB flash drive. Now we have to focus on the topic the modems. So when digital data is to be sent over an analog facility, the digital signals must be converted to analog form, and the process of converting the digital signal to analog form is known by the name modulation, and the process of converting the analog signal to digital form is known by the demodulation. So the modem stands for modulator and demodulator. So that's regarding the definition for the modem. And also we have the block diagram of this modem, the functionality of this modem, in which the center computer, it gives the digital signal to the modulator, and it demodulates it to the analog signal. Then later it then demodulates to the digital signal, and then it converts with the help of this modulator to the receiver computer. So basically the signal is converted with the help of this modulator and the demodulator, basically the digital signal to the analog signal and vice versa. So that's regarding the definition and some important points regarding the modem. So now we have the types of modem. So the first one is the internal modem, in which it is installed inside a desktop or laptop computer, allowing the computer to communicate over a network with other connected computer. Which the example for the internal modem, which includes the dial-up and also the Wi-Fi, which is the wireless kind of this modem. Then we have the external modem. So we have the DSL, which is the digital subscriber line modem. Then ADSL, which means asymmetric digital subscriber line modem. Then SDSL, which is the symmetric digital subscriber line. Then cable modems, satellite modems. So these are the different types of these modems, which is the external modems. So basically we have different types of modem, especially the internal and external modem. So that's regarding different types of this modem, especially the internal modem and external modems. Now we have to focus on the seventh topic of this module, which is the central processing unit. So this is also known by the name processor or the microprocessor. It is the portion of a computer system that carries out the instruction of a computer program, and it is the primarily element which carrying out the computer's functions. So we have four major functions or four major operations of the CPU. They are fetching, decoding, executing, and write back. So the fetching means it involves the retrieving an instruction, which is the represented by a number or sequence of numbers from program memory. So after fetching, we have the decoding process. So in this step, the instruction is broken up into parts that have significance to other portions of the CPU. Then we have the executing step, which means during this step, the various portions of the CPU are connected so that they can perform the desired operation. So we have the fetching, then decoding, then executing. Then the final step is the write back. So it simply writes back the results of the execute step to some form of memory. So these are the four major operations of the CPU that we have to focus on: fetching, decoding, executing, and write back. Now we have to focus on the components of the CPU. So we have different types of components regarding the CPU. Basically we have the control unit, then the arithmetic and logic unit, and also we have the registers. So the control unit means it directs and controls the activities of the internal and external devices. It interprets the instructions fetched into the computer. It determines what data, if any, we needed, and where it is stored, where to store the results of the operation, and sends the control signals to the devices involved in the execution of the instructions. Now we have the arithmetic and logic unit, which is the ALU. It carries out the arithmetic and logical operation on the data made available to it. And the basic arithmetic functions which an ALU can carry out include the addition and subtraction. Then we have the registers. So registers within CPU are special purpose temporary storage location. So we have different types of registers are available. So we have different types of registers are available. So the first one is the program counter, which is the PC, in which it keeps tracks of next instruction to be executed. Then we have the instruction register, which is the IR. It is a register that holds the instruction to be decoded by the control unit. Then we have the memory address register, which is the MAR. It is the register that points to the memory location which the CPU plans to access either for reading or for the writing. Then we have the memory buffer register, which is the MBR, which is also referred to as the memory data register, which is the MDR, and this is used for the storage data either coming to the CPU or data being transferred by the CPU. Then we have the accumulator, which is the ACC. It is a general purpose register used for the strong operands, then temporary results and results produced by the arithmetic and logic unit. So these are the important aspects regarding the registers. So with that we just completed the components of the CPU. So we have the ALU, then the control unit, then the registers. So here we have the block diagram of the CPU in which the CPU with the system bus. So basically we have the ALU, the registers, then the control unit, and with the help of these registers how it works with the help of this CPU functionality. So that's regarding the components of the CPU. Now we have the last topic of this module, which is the processor type. So the processor of the computer handles all the information for the computer, from interpreting your keyboard strokes to reading the software you install. So regarding the processor types, we have two major companies. They provide different types of these processors. They are the AMD and the Intel. So the AMD here means the advanced micro devices. Then we have to divide the processor types into three major divisions. The first one is the high-end processors. For example, the Core i7, Intel Core i7 processor, then the Phenom 2H4 processor, then Core i5, then Phenom H2H3. So these are the different types of these high-end processors from the Intel as well as from the AMD. Now we have the mid-range processors. So here also we have the Core i3 processor, Core 2 Duo. So under the mid-range processors from the AMD, we have the Athlon H2, and the final one is the economy processors. So we have the Centrino, then the Atom from the Intel processors. Then from the AMD we have the Sempron, then Athlon, etc. So these are the different types of economy processors. So these are the major divisions of these processor types. So the first one was regarding the high-end processors, then we have the mid-range processors, and finally we have the economy processors. So with that we just completed the second part of this module, which is the second module of this paper, the introduction to hardware. So we have the output devices, then we have the USB flash drive, then we have modems, and finally the major topic, which is the central processing unit, its components, then also its operation and different types of these processors. So with that we just wind up the second module, the revision of the second module. Then we have to focus on the some important questions from this chapter. So basically we have to focus on the short terms like the RAM, ROM, BIOS, etc. Then the ALU, the functions of the ALU, then what is CPU, so and also different types of registers, then USB, like that. Then from the short essay type questions we have the components of the CPU, then also regarding the to describe the symbol model of a computer, which means the block diagram of the computer with the 5 major operation. Then we have the different types of devices, especially the input and output devices, and specifically the CRT LCD monitors, the printers, then the flash drive, their users, then the different types of modems. So these are some important short essay questions. Then regarding the long essay question, we have the describe the various types of ports used in the computer, which means the external and the internal buses. Then we have the major components of the CPU, so that we discussed already in the last class. Then we have the different types of these input devices and also regarding the output devices with more examples. Then we have the different types of printers, and lastly we have to focus on the topic the CPU itself. So these are the some important questions that we have to focus on from this module, which is the second module of this informatics paper. So with that we just wind up this revision of this second module. So that's for today. Thank you. Happy learning.